Hi, and welcome to the In the Field project. And today we are joined by the illustrious Iestyn Thomas. How are you feeling anyway?
Yes, I'm all good. Thank you for the introduction. I don't think I've ever been called illustrious before, but thanks for having me on.
I think, well, there's only a couple of words you can use to mention you. You are probably one of the best rugby journalists at the moment in Wales. So, illustrious is probably the best choice of words I can give you. Firstly, how's your summer been anyway?
Yeah, it's been quite good. Obviously, a little bit different compared to, well, certainly compared to when I was a student. You kind of have to go out hunting for work, and so it's certainly been a bit different. Even when I finished the course back in May, that was kind of the goal really to get something, and that's kind of been what I've been trying to do over the last couple of months, and it's been interesting, some good times. Sometimes just to relax and to chill and watch quite a bit of sport, which is never a bad thing.
No.
But yeah, we always want to kind of kick on and kind of get either opportunities or work stuff kind of in the way as well.
How does it feel now to be heading? Obviously, you've had 3 years at USW, heading out now into the wide world of journalism. How does it feel to be heading there now, following three probably promising but tough years?
Yeah, you kind of look back at university and you think, yeah, there were some times where you thought, oh, that doesn't seem too good, or that is quite good, and I generally feel it does set you up rather well, in terms of learning different skill sets and things like that. So, I was always kind of a writer first more than anything else, and if you'd have spoken to me during my first year of the course, that would I've just talked about a lot, and I just been said, oh, writing this, writing that, but you kind of learn during university about all the different skills you develop, particularly during second year, you kind of get a lot of photography and filming, and then obviously kind of my last year, the course is all about broadcasting and, making sure you got camera equipment set up properly and working how to use the TV studio and stuff like that. So it sets you up really well. And you know, it's been it's been some good years, and you can really enjoy it. I think if you spoke to anyone of my cohort, they'd probably give probably quite a similar answer in terms of the enjoyment of it, and it's just kind of setting yourself up for getting that work done.
Yeah, absolutely. Could you just as a bit of a brief for the audience, could you please explain what area you've gone into now of journalism?
Yeah, so I haven't officially got a job yet, but it's over the last few weeks I've kind of done a lot of writing. So at the moment I'm currently contributing as a writer for a rugby website called Talking Rugby Union. So I approached them back in May, I think it was, to say, oh, if you need some pieces written or anything like that, just give me a shout. And luckily I managed to get some work done there, particularly during the Lions tour. So that was quite nice to kind of look at each game and just offer some analysis pieces afterwards. So, my first piece was after the Lions against Argentina game back in June. So that was quite nice to kind of get something on the board. And
Yeah.
hopefully over the next few weeks that will kind of develop and grow. And hopefully I get a little bit more work out of it as well.
What would you say inspired you to go into that side of the industry? Was it a person or a thing or a, you know,
Um, well, without sounding cheesy, I'd have to. My dad kind of gave me my first ever contact in the journalism industry. He kind of knew someone from work whose daughter was a journalist. So he kind of sent me some details across and said, "Oh, if you want to think about doing that sort of thing, just send an email and see what happens." And this was about 5 years ago now, so it's quite a long time ago. And I eventually reached out and kind of started my own website because at the time there wasn't any rugby on in the UK due to the COVID lockdowns, but there was rugby in New Zealand starting back, so there was a few early morning games. So I thought, oh, what a good idea to maybe start writing just the casual, usual match reports and publish them online. One, to save my dad waking up really early in the morning, but the two, to kind of maybe show something that I could possess. And that came at a time where I was probably undecided on my A level choices, and it kind of really set the way of what I wanted to do, and it gave me a bit of a focus then during, some very uncertain times during COVID.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Um, is this the industry now you feel that you would want to continue in for the rest of your life? Obviously, you said you started really before the course, and you've been doing it for quite a while now. Is this now you aim to be in sports journalism now for the rest of your career?
Yeah, I think so. I can't really imagine where else I'd be really, really good at to kind of nail down a proper job and a permanent job. So it kind of feels like it's not sports journalism or bust. It's kind of like I'd kind of imagine that if all went well, I'd hopefully, touch wood, have a kind of a sustained career within the industry, whether it's rugby, football, F1 or any other sport. It's it kind of hopefully it set me up rather well in terms of what I've done already to kind of kick on and build on that.
Yeah, certainly. If there was any other job, non-sports media based, you feel you could compare your job with right now, what would that be?
Well, funny enough, I had a chat about this with my parents a couple of days ago, and we kind of likened it to the music industry. And well, in my instance, that my mother, my father, they were both big into their music, and in terms of brass band, and that was, and I'd obviously chipped in as well when I was young, and I probably don't do as much as I should compared to them, but we've all kind of stopped. But they always reference how kind of similar they didn't realize how much similar it was compared to the music industry and the sports journalism industry. Because if you're a young musician, kind of getting a degree and you kind of thinking, oh, where's next? You kind of look around and it's probably a little bit tricky, arguably a little bit harder as a musician to kind of break through compared to a journalist because you get a little bit more platforms to kind of work with as a journalist, either through contacts or freelance contacts to kind of, get yourself through the door and get some opportunities early on where kind of musicians is quite, hard to kind of break through barriers. I know of a few people who have graduated with music degrees and you kind of think, oh, it's quite similar in a way that they could also go as a freelance musician in a way, and I could go as a freelance journalist. It's very similar industries with how, some jobs might require certain skills and you think you got them, but then all of a sudden they might come back and say, oh, this might be not the perfect fit at the moment. So it's quite similar how both industries are kind of, you need a lot of experience to kind of break through it to begin with.
Yeah, there's lots of different avenues. Like there's a variety of different things you can do with your degrees in both. I can understand that. Um, what do you think is the biggest challenge you've faced so far in your side of the industry?
Ooh, probably finding a job is the obvious one to kind of begin with, because you kind of think, oh, I'm set now, university out the way, let's just go for it. And that was kind of my mentality back in May once I'd finished my course. And you thought, oh, it shouldn't be too long. I shouldn't be waiting long. Maybe probably a little bit of some element of delusional, I guess, that I think that somebody would come so quickly, but it doesn't work out like that for everyone. And it's probably just kind of getting used to rejection in a way in terms of you might apply for a job, you might think, oh, an okay fit. There's a job that I'd kind of like to do, but there's a lot of other people kind of similar age brackets or someone possibly more experienced than you going for the same role. So you could probably expecting the answer to be no. So it's just about kind of reaching out to all those contacts that you've kind of built up during university or wherever you've kind of achieved your qualifications, but particularly for in this university, and just getting those chances when you can. And whenever there is a chance to kind of pop up, you hopefully you kind of take it.
Would you recommend, well, particularly for graduates now, graduates of the course, would you recommend they go into the side of the industry you're aiming to get into? I know obviously possibly taking jobs away from you, but would you recommend that?
Um, well, it's kind of a tricky one as I probably wouldn't have set myself out to be within kind of the bit in a way a freelance way in at the moment I kind of go into. It's a bit different. So I always kind of thought, oh, just get a job and get in through that way. But it seems to be kind of different opportunities and freelance opportunities and building up contacts seems to be, well, from my experience over the last couple of months, seems to be the way to go. And it's kind of for anyone in terms of graduates who graduated this year, possibly wanting to go back into the industry. You're kind of thinking just reach out to your contacts is probably my advice, is something that I've kind of learned. If you've got a contact and you're thinking, oh, I want to reach out to them, by all means do it. And if you're thinking, oh, that looks quite good, but I haven't got a email address or phone number, you kind of might say to someone else you kind of know, oh, do you have this contact detail or this contact number? And it kind of works out that way as well. So it's certainly a way that I've kind of done it in writing. I just kind of went out and just emailed everyone as quickly as I could to see what was about. And a lot of people said, oh, there's nothing, which is fair. And luckily I managed to get that chance with Talking Rugby Union, and hopefully, as I said earlier, the next few weeks I'll kick on, and you just hope it keeps on building and building. But yeah, certainly a lot different compared to what I would have expected straight away.
Yeah. Is there anything you think you would have done differently to prepare yourself for this side of the industry? Now, obviously, in the summer, finishing all the course.
Well, one of the things I kind of looked back on a couple of weeks ago was kind of like, oh, why didn't I just kind of start browsing for jobs sooner to kind of see what experiences they had, what kind of opportunities were about at the time. But you kind of say that, but the final few weeks of the course and the degree was kind of a bit busy. So you kind of think, oh, you just wanted to put all your focus in that instead of, maybe you don't want to look too far ahead and kind of thinking, oh, I'm going to look for all these jobs now in like March, April, when you're thinking, oh wait, I haven't finished my degree yet. That's kind of the important stance. So I was thinking that, but it's probably not the case considering the nature of some of the projects that were around in that final year. So I probably wouldn't have done much. I was quite pleased with how I just went in straight away. I didn't really take much time off. Well, luckily with Pontypridd, the club I was with on work placement, they had an extra game the week after I finished the course. So I thought the course and my time at that club would finish at the same time, but I had an extra week, so it kind of felt like the first week was a week off. But
Yeah.
it's just kind of reaching out to those people early, just to say, oh, just even give them a heads up to say, oh, I've finished my degree. This is what I'm expecting, and just kind of go from there to see. Some people will reply, some people will not reply. So it's just about getting out there early, reaching out to people, and kind of hoping for the best in a way.
That's great. Just to summarize and just to finish up now, in 5 years' time, what would be your aims in this industry? And finally, what is your end goal in sports journalism?
In 5 years' time, I'd be hoping that I'm consistently on the mill in terms of, well, maybe not Welsh rugby itself, but maybe a sport somewhere in Wales, rugby, football, something like that. If I'm constantly on the mill, so going to games week in, week out, attending press conferences, if that could be a case, all right, 5 years is a long time away. It could happen sooner, could happen later, but if I'm kind of on that treadmill, just keep going, keep going. If I get those opportunities to cover matches, regardless of the quality, then that's a good thing. And my end goal, I've always wanted to cover. I'd always like to cover Formula One but that's kind of different. I wouldn't say that's like an end goal, but I'd always wanted to cover either a Rugby World Cup or a Lions tour. I always thought that would be pretty cool to have, even if it was just
Yeah.
one game. You could give me. Let's pick out Uruguay and Italy, for example, as two nations. Even if someone said, "Oh, yes, then go and cover that match for me," I'd be delighted. But if it was Wales, that'd be arguably even better. But yeah, a Rugby World Cup would probably be an end goal, but that could easily, kind of depends how it goes. That could come really quickly, and then I'd be thinking, "Oh, I'm all done now. That's it." But I think Alliance Tour is kind of the top stuff for me. kind of, especially with how the Australia tour is kind of going with kind of everything that's going on and potential of the Lions winning the series already. But this yeah, kind of those two would be my top stuff. But that could easily happen quickly, but it could easily happen in 15 to 20 years time. Who knows?
But hopefully, we either see you on the next most recent Lions tour, or we'll see you in 2027 for the next Rugby World Cup. Well, and that summarizes the end of our interview. Thank you very much for coming on and speaking to me. I think we've gained a lot of interesting points here in this interview, and I appreciate your time.
Oh, no worries. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you.